Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 88 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration. And in today's episode we will be focusing for the advanced lander, which is Mike J, coming from Eve to Kerbin. So that would be our main focus for today's mission. So let us select Mike J's craft. As you can see, we have quite a lot of craft. I did make recent cleanup, but still lots of ways to go more. And here we are on a rendezvous trajectory with Kerbin. Granted, the path isn't the best, so I'm adjusting my trajectory to make sure that I come very close in the orbit around Kerbin, and hopefully the idea would be to hit some sort of periapsis of 22-ish kilometers to basically get aero brake and aero capture. Now, given that this is a 0.90, we don't have heating, so I don't have to worry about the heating, which was great. Otherwise, this would be a real problem on this craft, I guess, since it's not designed to take a tremendous amount of heat. So, okay, just trying to estimate how long our burn will take, some 12 seconds, and doing the burn. Perfect. So our periapsis is 2190. Perfect. That's exactly how I want it. And I believe I can see Kerbin and Moon and Minmus, as you can see in the distance. Beautiful. So this merits a screenshot and sphere of influence change, and let's see if the periapsis changed. 23, I'm gonna keep it around 20. I mean, after all, we are coming at an interplanetary speed, so we do want a little bit harder aero brake. Okay. Now let's enjoy as Kerbin slowly comes into view. Or a little less slow, a little faster. Okay, just making sure that I point the craft orbit retrograde. Just double checking my real chutes to make sure that they are armed. Just in case, at least 2 of the drag chutes. I'm making sure because I want to make sure that those deploy and start decelerating as early as possible. Okay, coming in on Kerbin. Hi, Kerbin. And pretty soon we would be going for the aero capture. I'm kind of hoping to see if we hit land, but then again, you cannot really expect that to a great deal. So I'm transferring all the fuel into the biggest tank, which is actually the lowest tank, to make this craft as aerodynamically stable as I possibly can. I think drag is not on my side. It will want to tilt or actually flip on the other side, but let's see how it will hold up, shall we? I'm using RCS thrusters, pretty much same procedure as I did when I was landing jab, so let's see how this one will hold up. Mike J, hold on, you are coming home. Heating and some high altitude drogue parachutes already engaged. So we are already decelerating despite the fact that we are like at Mach 4 or 5. But I guess the atmosphere is quite thin as well, so it's getting thicker by the minute, so yeah, not 100% realistic, but I guess I will have to relearn KSP once I start playing with 1.1. I don't want to play with 1.05 because I know it's a transitional one, so I'm using it for my mod Spotlight series, and this version has tons of mods, so it would be a nightmare enabling that one for the 1.05. Perfect. Landing below the cloud layer, extending our landing legs, and since we're dropping into the sea, we don't need to care in terms of landing legs, I guess, but then again, it's useful to maybe deploy them later on. And our main chutes have deployed. Wonderful. Cutting our descent speed to 4 meters per second, which is pretty much perfect. And at this time, wide landing bays will actually give us a stable platform. And I just decided to, for the heck of it, just deploy landing legs. Perfect. Recover the vessel, 1,700 science gate for a total of 2029 and still 1 metric crab ton of ribbons. Congratulations, Mike J, you're the hero. So, let's see what we can actually research. So, I'm thinking maybe carbonite. Thrusters and solar panels I'm not that crazy about. Heavy boosters maybe. Crew compartments definitely not. Procedural controls, those would be actually useful but not critical. Future spaceplane engines, not just yet but very soon. Scoops, maybe. Experimental decoupling, 5 meter decouplers, ooh, those could become useful. And colony construction, maybe yes. Adapters, future construction. There are some here adapters for the 5 meters, so, and also HX, the one I actually very much like building with. So heavyweight decouplers, energy storage. All of these we need, but I think I want to go with the carbonite. It's time we start researching those and actually, see what we can do with carbonite. And we have 1029 more science. So let's see what we can get for that. Energy storage, definitely not. And these big fairings sound appealing to me at the moment. Or future construction. This is a little bit of a dilemma now here. Future construction seems actually very good. It gives me lots of parts for the more interplanetary craft, which I'm actually starting to get into. Experimental decoupling, that one might be a worthwhile. So maybe these two, but I actually don't have enough. So let's just take this one. And then we have 250, so I'll put in the fuel scoops. Okay, I mean, we can scoop carbonite from the atmosphere using the scoops and stuff, so maybe we would be able to also refuel a little bit. Coming back to our exploration ship, the one that was using the, impactors. So I think it is time, since now we have deployed our communications network. I'm sorry, by the way, for the jittering. I wasn't able to speed it enough. Like I said, I'm playing this is in 2 frames per second, so this is like, I think, 8 times accelerated or 6. So yeah. Anyway, it's time to deploy the Laythe impactors, and I will be impacting both satellite deployers on Laythe, so let's see how that will hold up. I'm hoping to hit both the Sagian Sea and the land somewhere, so that's why I have multiple impactor craft, because I'm hoping that at least one of them will hit the mark. So let us activate the Communitron and decouple, and as you know, we're playing with time delay, 260 seconds, so that's 4 minutes time delay. Long live remote tech. So yeah, it actually makes the gameplay a lot more interesting. So let's see. Activating Communitron, bam, and decoupled. Awesome. By the way, this craft is very much uneven, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm saying, okay, hold orbit retrograde. That's good. So let's see how that will perform. And it starts hitting orbit prograde. I decided to go to the Space Center because I was worried of the spinning wheel of death bug. So I'm sorry, this is a little bit accelerated reloading of the craft. I wanted you to see, and look at this, what happens. It had command queued orbit retrograde, and not the probe, but the actual exploration ship tilts. So it's one of those quirks with this older version of Remotech. I believe that this was correct. I haven't encountered it in 105 when I was just briefly testing Remotech. So the problem is if you give the command, if you decouple and then don't, and you continue editing the commands to the flight computer, it still gets stuck in the mode of the previous craft. So I guess that's the problem. Okay, so once again, after I reloaded it, now it should be fine. So, okay, so switching focus, now we should be okay. Laythe impactor 1, and let's toggle some lights, some SAS, and let's inactivate our engines, and let's see if we can deorbit this guy. Just making sure that I'm communicating with Laythecom's orbital. After all, you want the signal redundancy not only to be able to communicate to the nearest station, but also to the other ones. So, yes. And we have a total of 2 relay stations, so we should have more than enough connectivity to actually bounce the signal around. So, activated engines, and let us execute the maneuver. I'm thinking somewhere around here, and let's put the maneuver to what? 90? Maybe 90. 88 periapsis first. We want to get this satellite in the lower orbit. And yeah, during that I did forgot one tiny detail, which will be apparent very, very soon. And yeah, let's toggle the light. That's not what I forgot, but still. One tiny detail that I forgot is that this craft is actually very asymmetrical. So here you can see my satellite doing the buckaroo. Yeah, and our periapsis is 318 by 398, so it actually we didn't do jack. So I decided to use fuel balancer to just balance my fuel out and also decouple one more tank, because yeah, that was what was causing the imbalance. So yeah, buy tank, and let's make sure that all the other tanks are well filled or whatever. So I'm just making sure that craft is maintaining stability. Okay, so that means we will need to do another maneuver, and this time I'm putting here to 75 or 80 maneuver prograde and execute the plan maneuver. Okay, let's see how that one will execute. This episode will be a little bit more orbital operations in terms of landing impactors and doing that kind of stuff around Laythe, and then we will see for the next episode. We are anyway a little bit more focused around Laythe these days. But Arduino Windows is coming soon, so we will actually be launching something big if you've seen this episode of Kerbal Engineering, last one, you will know exactly what. And by the last episode of engineering, I mean the 2000 subscriber special, which at the time of posting this video should have already aired. So let's see. Just doing some estimate in terms of when, what, and how. So let's see, that would be 203 meters per second. Okay. I was just curious to see how are we standing with the execution. So we'll see how it goes. Going orbit retrograde and executing the planned maneuver in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay. Okay, getting ready to. And after that, I figured I would post the burden 100%, 100 meters per second, to basically, because I want to reduce the orbit, deploy the impactor probe, and then once again burn to raise my periapsis. So sort of like dipping in, dropping, and then going back up. So we'll see how that will work. It's a little bit complicated series of maneuvers, and pretty much always I goof something up, so yeah. For example, in this case what I goofed is actually deploying the bloody probe, which I actually forgot. I just forgot one tiny detail, and that was to decouple the actual impactor. Yes. Actually I didn't, but I forgot to put time delay for the second burn. So what happened is I dipped down, I dipped up, or reduced my periapsis, raised my periapsis, and then I deployed the impactor probe, which was silly for the best part. So at this point I have now once again a very asymmetric craft just with one impactor, and I'm hoping to actually being able to deploy at least that one correctly. So one we have already messed up, so there's so many things that you need to think of, guys, when you're playing with the signal delay, that it really gets very easy to mess it up. So now, since I know it's asymmetric craft, rather than burning a lot, I will actually execute smaller burns, and those will be with only 10% thrust to test if the SAS can hold direction. And as you can see, SAS can hold a direction while I'm burning for the lower periapsis, which is great. So my periapsis is 39, which I think it's pretty okay, and I want to basically lower it even further, and then I will be decoupling the impactor probe. Okay, let's see how that will go. Okay. So, first we burn to reduce periapsis, then we activate communitron, then we activate the decoupler, and then we toggle the landing gear. That should be okay. Then we put 25 minutes delay, and we activate the last communitron. And this is like a precaution, because once we're actually dipping into the atmosphere, if our communitron will be extended, there's a good chance that the air pressure will cause it to snap, which would basically kill our ability to communicate with any of the satellites above. So what I'm hoping to gain by setting this time delay is everything is set on automatic, so once that our impactor probe lands successfully, it would have a queued action to deploy the communotron antenna and hopefully re-establish the signal back to the Kerbin. That's the theory anyway. So, now my periapsis is 5,000 meters and I'm not raising the periapsis because this deployer will also become a spectacular wreck. We don't care about it. It has done its purpose, more or less. And all we care about is this guy, which is this impactor probe. So now I'm hoping that the landing gear will extend eventually. Let's just rename it Laythe Impactor 1, and there is some science to be done, and I'm already transmitting that at least to gain some science back, and in case this probe gets destroyed, you never know. So yeah, the antenna extended. It's probably not the smartest choice that I've done, but we'll see. Maybe it will just hold up. It's dancing beautifully. I'm just kind of thinking lowering legs. I did toggle the landing gear, and yeah. So here you can see the flight computer being updated as long as we moved away from the parent vehicle, apparently. And the parachutes deployed. Beautiful. A little bit of spinning, but like I said, I don't have a full control over it. It has the command to hold, I believe, orbit retrograde, and just hope that it lands safely. So going down, collecting some more science as we go along. And looks like this probe will actually be landing at Sagen C. I'm hoping that those two parachutes would be enough to hold it in place so it doesn't break apart when it lands. So far, the vertical velocity is 52 meters per second, which is not a whole lot. And the landing legs did extend, which is great. So we are some 800 meters from the deployment, and bam, 3.7 meters per second vertical velocity when it comes to landing. Perfect. So let's put 4 times acceleration until we get to 100 meters, and let's see if our probe will survive. We have 4 more minutes to see if our other antenna will activate, but it looks like we might not need it after all. Let's see, and bam! Perfect! Gravity, temperature, send all of these beautiful experiments back home to Kerbin. I'm pretty sure the scientists will be eager to know about its secrets. And appears that our electric charge was mostly spent sending, so I have lost some good amount of science. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off.